Dear congregation, dear siblings, dear friends, thank you for the opportunity to join you in worship here today. I was here last November, so one could think this is a normal visit. But today will be a bit of a first for me in one way, because I was asked to come on quite short notice, and I did not have all the time that I usually want to prepare, do the research, formulate everything. So this will be a bit more off the cuff, and I'm looking for the Holy Spirit to help out a bit more than normal. I was thinking out loud with my pastor, Carsten Moa, about what I could take as a topic today, and he had what I thought was a good suggestion. Why don't you take the verse for this year, he said. Now, in German-speaking congregations, we often work with the biblical quotations, die Losungen, that the Herrnhuter, which is known as the Moravian Church in the United States, I'm not sure what it is elsewhere, they choose them and publish them every year. As I understand it, they're chosen at random, so the verses are not the same every year. There's an Old Testament and a New Testament verse every day, as well as a quotation from a religious song or poem. Besides that, there are also texts for each week and each month, and even one that is for the whole year. The weekly, monthly, and yearly texts are usually very short, just part of a verse. Sometimes they speak to me, sometimes I just think, so what? But this year, the annual text means a lot to me. It's from Psalm 34, verse 14, so we just heard it, but I'm sure no one paid attention exactly at that second. Seek peace and pursue it. If I had read this many years ago, I probably would not have thought much of it. Seek peace and pursue it. I would have thought it was passive. Peace is something that you have sometimes, and sometimes you don't, right? It sounds like something my grandmother might have brought home from her prayer club when I was a teenager, and then given to me very solemnly, and I would have tried not to make a face. Things are different now, though. I'm older and have less hair for one, and I'm more patient for another. Now I bring out the solemn quotations, and my children try not to make faces. Also, I no longer see peace as something that just happens. Peace is something to strive for. But that is where we have to start this exploration. What is peace? Let's try for just a moment to think for ourselves about what peace is. And now I'd like to ask for a break from what we usually do, because usually this is very frontal, and I do everything from here. But I'd like to ask if there's anyone who has some thoughts about peace that he or she would be willing to share with the congregation. Now, I'm not just trying to kill time here. I'd very much like to hear what this diverse congregation thinks. And I'm still thinking about this topic myself. Like I said, I haven't really come to conclusions about it. So I'd like to hear what ideas you might have about peace. There's not a right answer. And as I said before, I don't have any conclusions yet. So if anyone has anything they'd like to share, I'd appreciate it. Go ahead.
I think a negative definition is pretty easy to work with, the absence of war or conflict, but it doesn't really encompass the concept well enough, does it?
Very good. That's exactly where I started. The negative definition, to say it's an absence of war or conflict, is one way to define peace. Yeah.
I'd like to start off with by saying that peace has nothing to do with the absence of something that's bad.
Right.
So I would rather say it's in the context of your mission with God.
Mm-hmm.
Plan your work plan. In plan, be in control. Plan your work and work your plan. So, if you plan, you're organized. Your work means your productive labor. And then, comma, work then. Your plan to fruition. So that to me is a more positive way of. And that brings peace.
Right.
Peace is a result of something that's productively executed.
Good. Okay. So peace as a result of having a plan that you stick to and work through. Yes. Good. Go ahead.
The term peace is a relative term.
Yes.
It means different things to different people. So it depends on how you look at it. For example, someone can say peace is a state of harmony. Somebody can say peace is a state of cordiality, coordination. Like for example, as a relative term, a blind man in my context could not see, has no food to eat, but because she has radio that she listens to music every moment, she's peaceful. So that's it's a relative term, and it can be defined from different perspectives.
Very good. So yeah, peace as a relative term where it depends on the situation you're in as to what you see peace as or feel peace as. Yes, very good. Come
I like to use the word shalom, and I think that peace is an active thing where you are harmonious with God. It's hard to achieve.
Yes, yes. And I do the same thing. Shalom is a good way for me to kind of avoid defining it exactly, because I can take a foreign word and say, this is what I mean. But yes, that's very nice. Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much for all your input. I think all those are very interesting and help us get to where we want to go. The very first thing I thought was exactly what you'd said about the negative definition. As a teenager, that would have definitely been my definition, period. It's the opposite of war. So it's what we get when we don't fight with each other. And there are some ways that we can increase that definition. We've had several different ideas here. Another of the first things I thought of was our greeting that we use for each other. Peace be with you. Wishing each other God's peace is a nice Christian thing to do, right? Well, I turned to my favorite dictionary for some other definitions, and I got a few. A state of tranquility or quiet was the first one. The second was freedom from disquieting or oppressive thoughts or emotions. Freedom. Third was harmony in personal relations. Those are also all good definitions for specific things. I also tend toward a kind of situational view of things. It depends on your situation to know what peace is for you exactly. But as Christians, I suggest that we also add that this peace is often a direct gift from God, whether we see it as a state of being, or personal freedom, or harmony with others. But there's something else that I think I would have mistakenly interpreted as a teenager. Peace is a path by which we live our lives. It's the way we live. It's not a point that we reach and then shout out, I've arrived. I have peace. The Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. said it this way when he was talking about the politicians who waged war but spoke loftily of peace. They are talking about peace as a distant goal, as an end we seek. But one day we must come to see that peace is not merely a distant goal we seek, but that it is a means by which we arrive at that goal. We must pursue peaceful ends through peaceful means. All of this is saying that in the final analysis, means and ends must cohere because the end is pre-existent in the means, and ultimately destructive means cannot bring about constructive ends. I believe he's right. I believe that Jesus tried to get us to change the way we think with his Beatitudes, which we read before. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called the children of God. Now, this term peacemakers traditionally means not only those who live in peace with others, but also those who do their best to promote friendship among mankind and between God and man. John Wesley said the peacemakers endeavor to calm the stormy spirits of men, to quiet their turbulent passions, to soften the minds of contending parties, and if possible, reconcile them to each other. They use all innocent arts and employ all their strength, all the talents which God has given them, as well to preserve peace where it is, as to restore it where it is not. These two great men and theologians show us that peace is not meant to be the simple solution, and it is certainly not weakness. It is the way we live our lives, the way we should try to live our lives according to Jesus' example. And to touch on the Bible verse for the year again, it is important to me that it is not just seek peace, but seek peace and pursue it. Again, it is not a point that can be found, but it is something that must be continually achieved, like keeping your balance on a bicycle or a skateboard or skis. We have to continually adjust things and compensate for other things to maintain peace. Maybe I need to rethink our greeting of peace be with you. Maybe we're not wishing each other the good fortune to have God grant us peace, but the strength to stay on the path of peace through our daily tribulations. We already heard what Jesus said about the peacemakers, but let me close today by pointing out two more mentions of peace in the Holy Scriptures. In James 3, James speaks of wisdom. But the wisdom that comes from heaven is first of all pure, then peace-loving, considerate, submissive, full of mercy and good fruit, impartial and sincere. Peacemakers who sow in peace reap a harvest of righteousness. I love that image. Peacemakers who sow in peace reap a harvest of righteousness. And my last thought for today, the words of Jesus as he instructed his followers to live. When you enter a house, first say, peace to this house. If someone who promotes peace is there, your peace will rest on them. If not, it will return to you. And as Paul ended Romans 15, the God of peace be with you all. Amen.